We're back in the Splash Studio. We're going to make a video on how to hook up your Intermatic pure salt chlorinator to your splash pool. Let's go over all of our parts to make sure you have them all before we begin. Here you have the Powercell end cap with the flow channel. This is your other end cap. Small blue hose, 2 hose gaskets to go with that. You'll see a solid cap, end cap in the kit. This is for cleaning purposes. You can read about that in your Intermatic pure salt chlorinator manual. You've got a couple anchors that will help you mount the control box when you get ready to do that. We have 2 O-rings, a packet of silicone grease, our flow switch, and you have the written instructions from Intermatic on their pure salt chlorinator system. So let's get started. So the first step is to put together the pieces of the Powercell and the flow channel. Simple process. We're going to take our 2 O-rings that come with the silicone grease. You're going to cut the corner of the silicone grease out and just squeeze a little bit onto your fingers. And then I'm just going to rotate this O-ring and put a little bit of silicone grease all over it. Then I'm going to place it in the groove on the end. I'm going to take the end cap, screw it on. I want it pretty snug. You don't have to wrench down on this because you have an O-ring to seal it. I'm going to do the same thing with the other O-ring. I'm going to put it in the other end, in the groove. And I'm going to put this end cap on. And before I get it snug, I'm going to make sure that this hole in the flow channel is pointing straight up. And I'm going to tighten it down. So you should look like this. Let's go to step 2. All right, so we have our Powercell assembled with the end caps and the flow channel. Now we're going to put the flow switch in. So this is your flow switch. We're going to unscrew this cap. And you'll see on the flow switch that it has a paddle and a stick. These are important because they have to be going in the right direction. You'll notice the arrow on the flow channel. Water is flowing through this direction. So we want this flow switch to be in like this so that the paddle pushes up against that stick when the water is flowing. Screw that cap down, tighten it up. It's got an O-ring to help it seal, so again, you don't have to just wrench down on it. And you'll be able to look in there and see that when the water is flowing, the paddle is going to push up against the stick. Once it makes contact, it allows the system to make chlorine. It's a great safety feature because if the flow of the water stops, the paddle comes away from it, it doesn't generate chlorine. So we've got our flow switch in. Let's go to the next step. All right, so at this point, your unit should look like this. Now we're going to add the short blue hose, and you'll notice that we're adding it to the opposite end of the flow channel. Flow channel is at this end of the Powercell. We're taking the short blue hose to this end. You have 2 hose gaskets. We're going to put one of the hose gaskets in the end of the hose, and we're going to screw it on. And again, since you have a gasket, you want to get it nice and snug, but you don't have to get the pipe wrench out and just really wrench down on it, okay? At this point, we're going to take the Powercell and mount it to the side of the pool. Don't forget to take your other hose gasket because it's going to go in this end of the hose. Let's go to the pool. All right, so if this is a retrofit and you've already got your pool set up, you're going to have your return hose on your elbow that is the return to the pool. So go ahead and shut your pump and filter off, unplug it all so we don't have to worry about that. Put a winterizing plug on the inside of the return so that you can block the water, and shut the ball valve that's on your skimmer suction. That way we isolate the water to your pump and filter system. We don't have to worry about water coming out of the pool. So with all that being done, we're going to unscrew the line coming from the pump and filter system. And make sure you don't lose that hose gasket. You're going to need that. We're going to set this aside, and I'll show you what to do with it here in a minute. If this is a new pool install and you've just put your elbow in, this would be a great time to make sure that your elbow is correct. If you'll notice on one side it says hose side, make sure that part of the elbow is pointing down and not going into the wall. If you've got it backwards, this would be a good time to take it out and turn it around. If your pool is already up, you may want to go ahead and check it. You can use Teflon tape on the wall fitting side, but you don't need any Teflon tape on the hose side because we have the hose gasket. Okay, so we've got our Powercell. I put my hose gasket in the end of the short blue hose. We're going to screw it on. And by the way, this pool may look a little different. This is not an actual full pool. It is just a cutaway of the wall. All right, so we've got that screwed on. It's nice and tight. So now, hanging from the return, your unit should look like this. The line that comes from your filter, if it's a retrofit, it's the line we unscrewed from the elbow a while ago. If it's brand new setup, this is going to be the line that comes from your pump and filter and returns to the pool. This is now going on the bottom of the Powercell. Don't forget your hose gasket. Screw it on, get it nice and snug. Okay, so your system should look like this. Now, one note for you. I mentioned this was a cutaway. On your pool, you want this Powercell outside this leg, but because we don't have any water on the inside of this pool to push the liner out, it naturally hangs on the inside. But your cell will be on the outside of this leg. On to the next step. Okay, so when you get ready to install your control box, you're going to notice that there is no plug on the end of this 110 volt cord. The reason being, some people choose to hardwire these into a system, and some people have requirements for different plugs, whether it be a twist lock or standard 3-prong. So for that reason, there is no plug on the end of this, but this is 110 volt system. So your local electrician can take care of that if there's any code requirements or if it's being hardwired. All right, so it's time to mount the control box. Be sure and check the Intermatic Pure Salt Chlorinator manual for their recommendations on best location for it. You'll find 2 screws on the bottom, Phillips screwdriver. We'll take these 2 screws out. So we get the second screw out and you'll see that this back plate will come off. Comes loose and just lifts up. Cool thing about this is they've put a level in it for you. So when you're ready, all you'll have to do is find your place on the wall that you want to locate your control box, whether you need the anchors or whether you put regular screws into wood. You can mount this onto the wall and you can use the level to make sure that you've got it set. Once you've got it set in the wall, it's simply a matter of setting the control box down, putting it into place, and putting the 2 screws in the bottom, and you're done with the mounting procedure. All right, so at this point we've mounted our control box, and make sure that you reference your user's guide from Intermatic for their recommendations on where to locate it to work best with the system. Now we've got to hook up some power to our Powercell. So you've got your cables that run from the control box, a white and a black, and obviously we want to match them white to white and black to black. And you'll notice that these plugs line up, and when they go together, they'll lock. You'll hear it click. Get both of them clicked, they're in place. Now all we have to do is hook up the flow sensor. So let's hook up our flow sensor to the control box. On the bottom of the control box, you'll see this plug in the center that has a cap on it. We're going to unscrew that cap. This is the cord that comes from our flow sensor on the Powercell. And you'll notice that it has a slot in the top. So this will really only go in one way. And once you get it, just wiggle it a little bit and you'll screw that cap in and you're done. That takes care of your flow sensor.